Hey.
Welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Melody. I'll be your host, and I'm here with Daniel Alegria.
Hey.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you.
for being here.
So I'm really happy.
Yeah, and thanks for everyone in the chat for joining us. Hi, Chris, Raza, Olivier, or I think that's how you say it, or Olivier, Eric, Kathleen, Voodoo Val. Thank you all for joining us. This week we're going to be doing UI UX design, and it's going to be an awesome week.
Yeah.
I'm super excited. So let's take a look at the schedule and see the designers that we have. So at 8:30, we also are running a Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. So if you want to learn more about Photoshop or just practice, that's an awesome tool to use. At 9, we have Jackie Ho, hosted by Howard. And then at 11, we have Daniel Alegria, hosted by me. And then at 1, we'll have Michael Crabtree, hosted by Howard again. So be sure to stick around for those streams. And then for those of you watching at home, we do have a daily challenge today that's XD related. If you want to participate, we'll be reviewing that at the end of the stream. So today's challenge is to design an event page for a web page. So any event that you want, just design it. And you can find all the information on the challenge tab on behance.net/live. And you can submit it using that form, and then we'll review it and give you feedback. It's a great way to practice your skills or try something new. So it's an awesome opportunity to get feedback.
Yeah.
And we also have a chat and win in about 30 minutes. So you can win 100 free stickers from Sticker Mule, which is an awesome prize. I love stickers.
Same here.
Yeah. All you have to do is just be active in the chat and ask us questions. And yeah. Hi, Kat. Kat's watching. Yay. Okay, so with that said, Daniel, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about what you're going to be working on this week?
Sounds good. Daniel Alegria. I'm going to be working on kind of less on the consumer side and more enterprise side. I'm going to be working on kind of what an onboarding experience would look like for a kind of data BI, which is business intelligence application. And so the idea is really, how do you get people who really don't have familiarity with that type of space? You know, it's very complex and big data can be very overwhelming.
Yeah.
How do you really bring someone on board who's just really trying to get a couple of insights to help them do whatever they're doing, whether they are a marketer or whether, some other type of, end business user, right? Not someone who's like super technical in the weeds. I currently hail from Seattle, so I'm here avoiding the snow.
Yeah.
There's a snowpocalypse is happening.
Yeah, I've been hearing about it. I used to live in Seattle, and it never snowed that much. It snowed like once or twice while I was there. And I've been just seeing everything on Instagram and Twitter about all the snow.
Yes, all the snow. If we have more time, I'll show you the real world. Yes, I have a dog, and literally he's buried in the snow now.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so in Seattle, it all shuts down really quickly there. But I've been there for six years. Love it. I'm working for a startup, ThoughtSpot. They're also located here in, not here in San Francisco per se, but in Palo Alto, close enough.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty close.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Yes. And so today, what we really want to try to figure out is, for something as complex as data BI, what would the user really require to acclimate to understanding what data they can get insights from and how to actually act upon that data. And so we really want to look at that persona. And again, personas are very important in UX.
Yeah.
So in UX, you really want to do a lot of the research up front and ongoing through the entire process. It's very critical for you to really be connected and vet and validate as often as possible in order to make sure that you're on the right path, that the solutions you're building are going to be applicable as you start to build out the actual final the final solution.
I agree. It's important to know who you're designing for and who your core audience is going to be. So I think user personas definitely help get that going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in that vein, essentially, what we're not going to focus on is someone who's let's say a data scientist or an analyst. We're not focusing on that type of user.
Okay.
Rather, we're focusing on an end business user, someone who's just like, let's say, a marketer, for instance, who just wants to know sales data maybe in their region and making sure that they understand how to pick the right data source, what they're going to be getting out of that, and make it as simple and easy to do as possible. And then what we're going to do later down the road is we're going to focus on that desktop experience and then migrate that to a mobile experience and see what that looks like. There's a big trade-off there, right? In desktop, it's far more about the work, and you get really into the details. A lot more, kind of just data is afforded because you have a lot more real estate.
Exactly.
But on mobile, those use cases, again, very important, are not really going to apply. So maybe having your information more like a feed, a la Facebook or Twitter, would be more aligned to that type of use case scenario, right? And at the very end, we're going to look at how to take all that information and the states we've made on mobile and desktop, and do a few things. One on data visualizations, and do some like interesting stuff with auto animate and how that works. And then also doing some voice triggers for mobile and seeing how all that also interconnects with the desktop experience. So that's kind of the breakdown. Each day will be a little different. Desktop today, mobile tomorrow, and then integration the last day.
Nice. I'm excited to see everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So am I. We're going to be starting from scratch. So the idea is to really just start from the bare minimum here. And like I said before, we're going to start with desktop. So instead of doing a large canvas, I'm going to constrain ourselves intentionally. So I want to look at a 1366 by 768 desktop size. So we got a very simple canvas. It's all neat and tidy. And the first thing I really want to do is I might actually start to jot, and I'm going to bring this over a little bit of my sketch pad. And this is a very large sketch pad. So hopefully it's easy to view.
Should I move the GoPro?
Sure. Yeah, I'm just gonna get cracking on a few little sketches here.
I don't know if it'll show the whole thing.
Yeah. And I'm gonna. There you go. Now, see which way.
Oh, thanks.
Awesome. And so if I draw this way, they will see. Okay. So I'm trying to orientate myself here. My perspective, yes. All right. So. The first thing I want to do is really understand, how do we introduce this product, right? This is a first-time user.
Yeah.
Like, again, persona matters, right? So the persona, this is to write it down. I'm going to kind of apologize for my writing up front. I'm just kind of reaching over here.
That's okay.
So persona is going to be a first-time user. And that first-time user is also going to be a marketer. All right. And so again, this is a first-time user, marketer, and they really are unfamiliar with a lot of existing tools out there. This is like maybe, let's say, their first stint into the business world, for instance, right?
Yeah.
So we really want to break this down, be hyper granular as to who our audience is and how we're going to be catering this experience to match their expectation. And that's really important. Matching one's expectations makes the experience more seamless and frictionless as you move forward. So with that in mind, the first thing I think I'm going to need here, I'm going to kind of just really quickly, and hopefully my marker holds up to me here, is...
I have a pen if you want to use it, in case.
You know what? I'm gonna switch pens.
Oh, you have a backup pen.
Backup pen.
Nice.
There we go. That's working. So the first screen here is going to be a splash screen. And what the splash screen is going to do is essentially it's going to be the intro to being able to log into the experience. So I'm going to have some kind of affordance for logo right here, just for branding purposes to kind of ground everyone to what this is. And then I want a real clear input field for both your email and your password with the ability to sign up and remember who I am, right? So this is going to be a sign up button. And this is going to be the inputs for login and password. And I'm spelling things really, really messed up.
That's
okay. And so this is the first screen that I need, right? I need this splash screen. That splash screen will give me a little bit of context, but it's not going to tell me a whole lot. This is just basically getting to the experience. The next major screen, though, is going to be what is going to happen. How am I going to orient the user as they get set up here? So now I'm going to want to register that logo, have that consistency be locked somewhere in the corner here. Okay. I'm going to want a general affordance for searching the system, because again, even though I'm starting out, there might be FAQs and other things that we might want to expose. In addition to help, and help for the moment is I'm going to have little basic icons. So these are just kind of basic affordances that we might want to dip into. We can explore that as we go down this process. So the first thing is I'm going to be really, really modern in my approach here. So the modern approach here is I'm going to be very, bold and frank. It's basically, what are you interested in doing, right? What are you interested in doing? and I'm just going to say in. And then I'm going to basically provide either a drop down or, again, it's very important to do alternate. So this is 2A, maybe this is 2B. Maybe that works. And again, what you're really trying to do is validate hypothesis that you have behind you, right? You don't necessarily just want to go with one solution and say, I'm done, right? This whole idea of being able to do everything in XD the way we are is to quickly, rapidly ideate and test things. And if you find that there's problems, then you can learn from that and adjust. So I still like the question, what are you interested in, or what is your, what are you trying to, what do you accomplish here, right? What is your role and what you're trying to accomplish? So let's say that's still the same question here, and I'm just going to kind of Greek this. But maybe I have, instead of that, example panels that I can select from, the top three things, right? And these can be heavily visualized, right? So kind of give them a cue with a little bit of title of what that is, and then just a little description below, right? So these are selections I can make, right? These are cards that are going to be able to focus what I'm doing, my interest. So now the user is going to have a real kind of means to tell the system ahead of time what their area of focus is, right? We don't have to guess. We don't have to present so many options where they don't understand what's going on. And if I blow out this card a little bit, I can basically say, okay, this card, the anatomy of this card is going to be let's say the visual I want.
Sorry, it's like kind of cutting off.
You can put it right on.
Okay.
So the blowout of this card's anatomy a little bit is going to be blocked a little bit, where I'm going to have a visual, as I mentioned before, and I might want to have some kind of illustration style this time around rather than, so this is going to be illustration of the type of data or the type of job you'll be doing. So let's say this is a marketer, so maybe it's a person, and this person, is, looks like a marketer. And if I check that, I want an affordance that says this is what I selected, right? So a little check. And of course, this will be the title and the description of what that is so that everyone understands. And maybe an affordance for like learn more, little info, like maybe I need a little more, what's really behind that. And so these are the first two screens that I really want to kind of get to. Again, the idea is to get them involved, signing in. That sign-in will go directly to one of these two screens. The two screens will either be drop down, just a simple drop down, or we can go into these cards. And right now, I'm feeling like maybe the cards are a better way of exposing that, right? But more visual feedback. And again, they have all those options already exposed. They don't have to kind of guess and squint at like, oh, am I a marketer or am I a salesperson? Am I like whoever you are, right?
There's actually a good question. Raphael asked, when sketching out multiple ideas for one screen, how do you decide which one to go with?
Oh, that's a really good question. Raphael, what I believe is really important to key on is, in answering that, what is going to really help the user provide enough context for the task you're trying them to do. So between these two options, I would say 2B, the one down here, is the one that I'm looking at that will accomplish enough context for the user. It gives them enough visual feedback and system feedback as to what they're trying to select in terms of their task, and it aligns to the overall goal that we're trying to accomplish. So this is what I'm going to go with, and I'm going to start like breaking that out now. Actually, I'm going to start designing this. And who knows, I might go back to this pad, I might not, but we'll start going here. All right. And I'm going to be taking heavy use of a lot of the Adobe services that I come to love, including Adobe Stock. Some of these things I want a little bit of, branding, visual identity emphasis to make this grounded and feel real. Again, these prototypes, you don't want it just to be completely just wireframes, right? You can start wireframes when you have a longer process. Sure, that's great. But here we want to make sure that we're actually communicating as much as we can, and usually visual and graphic design helps do all that. Nice. So I'm going to do the intro, and this is splash screen. I like to be very organized. And this
That's good. I always forget to name my screens until it's too late, and then I have to go back and remember what everything is, and all my layers are just random names.
Yes, and that happens. Sometimes you're just in the flow, and you just don't want to really stop. But it takes a lot to just make sure that you're not going to lose yourself in all of that, because it happens more often than not. Even with years and years of experience. Sometimes you want to jump in. So this is my intro splash screen, and I want to change the background real quick. So I'm just going to do that real quick and say, you know what? I want something inviting. So in terms of color palette, I want something that is going to attract a wide range of people, but not feel too sterile or techy. So I want to find that balance. And for that, I'm gonna kind of select a more kind of or less neutral blue color, something around this area here, just for that kind of default background. And I'm gonna put an affordance for that logo that I mentioned, which is it's gonna be right now in the center. Let's say we want this to be dialed in. I'm gonna do constrain here, and I'm gonna basically put this at 148 pixels. So it has some prominence. I'm gonna center that. And I want to make sure that I'm using the Option key to look at where the relative spacing with everything is, right? So it's 149. It's a little sloppy in terms of my number, so I want to make that a little more tight. So I'm going to put that at 146 from the top, and 609 is directly in the center, so that works for me. So this is going to be my placeholder for the logo. And then again, with that, I want to have the name of this. So let's go ahead, maybe ask the audience.
Oh, yeah.
What would be the name for this kind of business insights, business intelligence data platform? So basically, it's what I'm thinking down the road. I want to make things very simple. So maybe this is going to be, instead of like large dashboards and things that are very complex where you have to do a lot of operations, more like a Google-esque model, like where you can just
like very
type in
minimal?
something and we generate those charts and graphs for you.
Nice.
So with that in mind, if Google's your kind of like North Star is what you want this to be, and you're thinking about names, what do you think we should name this
let us
particular-
know if you have any ideas for any data, business intelligent type of names that we should name this.
Yes. I'm going to put just something pretty generic at the time, and then anyone can kind of jump in and chime in. So I'm going to put just the, let's say, data application for the last part. And again, what's so great is that I really don't have to spend a lot of time fussing around with the particular details at this moment.
Yeah.
And I'm going to reverse this out. And I'm going to change the entire topography here to something a little bit friendlier here. Let's see what we have. Let's do...
Oh, Renato says Datrix. I think
Data,
that's like
Datrix.
data and matrix mixed
Data
together.
and matrix. Interesting. Okay.
Nice.
Let's play with that. Let's,
Yeah.
what always happens, Datrix.
In data.
Datrix.
Binaural.
In data. Datrix. Datrix. Okay. I'm working with that right now. The other one was, it went past.
There's in data and binaural.
Gotcha. Okay, so now what we want to do is create very simple input boxes, right? And there's a couple things we can do. And I'm going to basically rely on a lot of the libraries and UI kits that are out there already in the world. So you can go and look at File and get UI kits, and you can see that we have a lot of different ones already in play, right? We have the top three you would expect from Apple, Google, and Microsoft. And then you have more kind of less this wireframe generic. So I'm actually pulled from the wireframe and build on top of that.
Okay.
So I'm going to show the process of how that's done. So it's a really simple process. You download the kit, and I'm going to put it to my desktop at the moment. And it's snappy just like that.
I love these wireframes.
Oh, absolutely.
They have so many good resources for you to use if you're designing and you don't have to create everything from scratch. You can just grab from here and change the colors or the type and everything. Super simple.
So here we go. We have all these basic UI elements that are seeming like, hey, really, fantastic. This is a starting point. And you'll see that I'm also using a combination of the trackpad with very simple gestures and my mouse at the same time. Sometimes I'll just hold spacebar. I know I'm sorry I'm giving you like vertigo as I do that. But the idea here is just to kind of like, okay, what am I going to take here just to start building my basic kit that I want? Essentially what I'm going to want here is to find a basic input field, which if I remember correctly is somewhere to the right. And again, I can see a lot of things that I'm already going to be tapping into down the road. Let's see here. There we go. And what I love about this wire kit is that there's a couple of options. Here you can see that there's this form type of field setting here. If you can see it, I'll bring it up a little bigger. But I'm going to move away from having square knockoffs for the field. What I want is something a little more inviting. Again, this whole idea was to be friendly, to be inviting for someone who really isn't aware of what we're doing with the space. So I really like this idea of pulling these initially here, these round fields. So I'm going to go ahead and select one of these, which is this required field here. Or maybe I'll do one that's focused just to kind of do that. So I'm going to bounce back to my Untitled. And before I do anything, I'm going to save it.
Nice. Oh, I think if you have the cloud for
Yes.
the new update, it'll save automatically, which is really nice.
I just wanted to name it.
Oh,
so
name
I'm
it.
gonna
Okay.
do
Yeah,
Adobe
there
Live
we
Event.
go.
But
Also,
that's a good call out. Thank you.
Some people were asking about the wireframes that you just pulled up. So
Yes.
it's available on Adobe XD. I think if you go to File, Get UI Kits, so it'll be right there
Here. Yes.
to download.
And you'll go to that web page that I just came from and download it right at the bottom. Somewhere right there. There's the link.
Yeah.
So we're back here, and again, I can either copy, which is Command C, or if I wanted to, I can literally just take the two windows that are open. This is in full screen, so let me make that non-full screen, and I can literally just drag and drop like this. I think I dropped it off. Did I drop it off? I think I did. Oh, okay. That did not work as I previously thought it did. But here you go. I'm going to copy paste that. And now it's going to ask me whether or not I want this as a symbol. And considering that I'm going to make many changes to this, I'm going to say, yes, I do want to make that as a symbol. But first, I just want to set the styling up a little bit more. Right now, this is just a basic blue, but I don't think this is working right now currently. So now I'm going to start to look at a couple of elements. I'm going to change this to login name. And you can see here on my right panel for appearance, I have the border color style that I can change. And so I'm going to make a few things. I'm going to actually increase the border radius by 1 pixel to give it a little further emphasis. I'm going to take this and punch it to a different color completely. And again, what I love about it is I can literally just cycle through all the colors very, very easily if I wanted to. And so right now I'm going to go with an orange to offset that, and the color will look at its complementary color. And then I'm going to change these values that are currently blue and switch them over, which I believe are linked. And here you can see all the assets on the left have a color assignment for the asset panel. And right now, this is assignment, this hex value is the color that you see generated here. And I don't necessarily want that all the time now, even though it's a symbol that I will use. So I'm going to edit that. And then I'm going to change that value to something else completely. So I'm going to take this little color picker and just select this same orange here and say that's what I want. And now, oops, sorry, updating the symbol would help. Let me just minimize that real quick. Highlight canvas. Oops. So now I have a local symbol. And now I can change that color.
So when you change it to local symbol, that allows you to alter
it. decouples it from the original symbol that it was attached to the other file. Cool. So now I have it exactly the color that I want. I have this name color, however, is not what I want. It's way too dim and view. And so I'm just going to change this to a more neutral color. I'm going to say, I'm going to pull it down to 40, 40, 40. So this gives it a little bit more contrast. Was there any other names that we were seeing here in the stream?
I saw someone said to put a number into the name. So maybe you can put like 1 instead of the I, or like a 4 instead of the A or something. I don't know.
Okay.
If anyone has any other ideas for names, definitely let us know in the chat.
And again, we want to make this, the date switch was interesting. I think maybe the next challenge would be to figure out how we can make a naming convention for this that is a little more inclusive. But what can we do that would make it a little more approachable and friendly? Nothing like Google, because that's a word that took some time to understand, and there's a rich history there. But see, now that I have this really basic component, I want to have a background component that really emphasizes data as well, something that's textual, that kind of communicates what this is all about. So what I want to do is actually just go to the stock right here. If you go to the little cloud icon, and the tab, which is already pre-selected that I had selected, is stock. And I can go, okay, what do I want in terms of, let's say, a data pattern? And we're just waiting, and there's a lot to choose from already. So now I'm gonna actually kind of drill in a little bit. I don't want just any kind of, data pattern. What I'm also looking for is a vector asset. So what's really great is I can change that through the filters and say, go ahead and make sure that you see here in subcategory, there is a vector icon or checkbox. And now all my results will be able to be broken up, and I can freely edit and manipulate whatever I'm looking at. And the one that's sticking out right now, again, because of everything, I really like what's going on here. The blue that I selected earlier,
really cool.
it has a little of the oranges. Let's go ahead and take a little closer look to that. And again, this is very early on. We're just setting kind of the ingredients for some of the visual design aesthetics as we layer on the UX components as well, right? So we're doing both at the same time. And so let's go ahead and make sure this, we can preview. We can actually preview crop. We can hide the crop. And I kind of like this. I said, okay, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to, oops, I pressed the wrong one. It's licensed, but that's fine. I'm going to open up a new folder real quick. I'm just going to call this Adobe Live Event. And this would be my just assets folder. So now I have a beautiful asset. It's an Illustrator asset, so it's going to take some time to open this directly in Illustrator.
Okay. Oh, it's time for chat and win. So it's a nice segue while we wait for that to load. So everyone in the chat, all you have to do is just be active, say something. If you have a question, ask Daniel.
Yes, please.
And you have a chance to win 100 free stickers from Sticker Mule. And we will be right back. And we're back.
Hi, everyone.
Hello to everyone in the chat. Let's see, you guys have a chance to win some stickers from Sticker Mule, which is a great prize.
Absolutely.
Hi, Beck, Ray, Jackie, Raza, Anel, Roman, Jimmy, Andrew. All the names are moving so fast.
Yes, they're going so fast I can't keep up.
Fernando, Jennifer. Good luck to everyone. Also, if you, Mariam Mao, congratulations!
Congrats!
Yay!
Right.
You'll be winning 100 free stickers from Sticker Mule. And then if you didn't win, you can also go to stickermule.com. I think it's, there we go, / Adobe Live 19, and you can get 10 stickers for $1.
$1.
Which is an awesome deal.
Yeah.
So if you want to make some stickers, if you have any designs that you want printed out, definitely go to that link and check it out. And yeah, so
I'm going to do it myself, to be honest.
Yeah, I know, I think I will too. And congratulations, Miriam. Thanks for everyone for participating as well.
Great. So getting back, getting back, we took the asset that was in Illustrator, which is right here, all vector, as you can see. Just by doing Command Y, you can see that these are all vector components, which is fantastic. It was exactly what I wanted. The color palette is something that I want to just kind of lift directly. So I basically did Command A to select all, then copy Command C, and then basically come right back to Adobe XD, and I pasted this already by doing Command V. And now I'm like, okay, I blocked everything. Well, the very simple thing to do is take this back down in your layers. And so without even having to navigate, I can literally just do Command and use the bracket back to continually go back and forth, right? So I can, like magic, turn it on and off. So I want to take it all the way down to the back, so that's what I'm doing now. And I'm going to snap this to the top. I kind of like what's going on here a little bit. And I'm going to play around just a little bit, just to kind of see what I can do. Okay, so right now, what is happening is there are multiple panels that came in for the illustration.
Oh, okay.
So I know I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to keep it the way it is. And there's a little resizing element there that's a little tool pop up for me to remind me. And what I'm going to do here now is key in this background color that I originally had to the new asset color. So now I have one complete set. And now what I really want to focus on real quickly is what is this logo going to be, right? And again, rather than designing everything from the scratch right now, I'm going to rely back on Adobe stock. So I'm going to go back here and look for a data-related pattern. So I want a geometric shape that shows
Okay.
kind of the relationship of bringing data together or that data is layered. So let's see how simple that is.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the things that I just looked at right now that was kind of inspirational was this layering
Ooh.
of big data down here. And I can kind of make that a little bigger if I can snap on it. And I really find Adobe Stock immeasurably important to a designer, just because you don't have to think about where I'm going, do a Google search, and it's a
Yes.
watermark or it's not the right size,
Yeah.
or you can't really edit it because it's a flat raster shape. Here I can really just specify, and again before I wanted a vector, and now I want to do something that is going to be more logo based. So what I'm going to do is just kind of scroll around here real quick and see if there's anything interesting. There's some stuff here that's kind of unique, and I kind of
Yeah.
dig what's going on here. And again, I'm making really rapid decisions for a number of reasons. One, we have a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
And if this was a real situation, you would of course be doing a lot of exercise around the brand component. But this is a UX exercise, UI exercise, and I'm just kind of picking elements that I think will fit the story, right? To communicate what the intention is. And as a UX UI designer, storytelling and narratives are really important, not just in terms of how you're communicating your information, but also the elements, right?
Yeah.
The process, the flow, the actual screens themselves. So now I'm downloading again. I'm going to put it to my Adobe Live event. And it's right there. Fantastic. Let's see here. Oh, that was a image. Sorry, let's see here. I think I said vector pattern. And now it's going to make sure that it's coming in as a vector, but it might be different. Let me just look at my layers real quick. And I think it's a rastered image. Okay, so it's a rastered image. So what I've just done here, I don't know if it's too small to see, but I've just exposed what this image is, and it's really just a rastered image. So that's something that I don't want to really deal with right at the moment. And so what I'm going to look at is to see if there's any other, let's see, other element here that we can pick from. There are these vectors. It says vector, AI, EPS, that's Illustrator's files that you can open with. Nothing here that I want. Let's look over here and do data logos. All right. Ooh, look at all the options we have
so
here.
many.
There's so many. Again, I did that in seconds just to kind of bring this up to give me a good idea, especially if this is a concept, right? I've not really settled on this really. I think there's something interesting in a couple of places. There's this company name that has this interconnected shape that's like a lattice structure.
Yeah.
It may be a little too techy, but again, this is data, so we have to take that into consideration, right? And there's this little element here that's a little friendlier, some rounded elements here. Let's see if I open that up. That could be interesting.
Yeah. That one looks cool, the ball with like the interconnected.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
This one here? This one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see if this comes down the way I want to. So let's go ahead and license that and save it to my computer.
It's cool that you can find logos on Adobe Stock. I actually
Yes.
didn't know or think to do that until right now. I always thought you could just get pictures, but it's awesome that you can get logos too.
Exactly. There's so many assets download. It keeps saying downloading shortly, but I don't see where it popped up. Let's see here. Maybe this icon. This is force it to open in Illustrator. Keep that one open for now. Could not open file. Okay, well, we did not win there. I don't know what the particular issue is. I'm going to try just one more time for persistency's sake. It's saved. I want to open it in Illustrator. Save to, I can save it to my library.
It's not working, you can try just restarting
Okay.
the desktop. I can pull away from your screen if you need to do that.
Okay.
But let me know.
Sorry, just one second while I figure this out.
Stella's asking if we can use the assets in our websites without any licenses.
Oh, I see. Well, maybe connected to that question
Yeah.
is I just realized I did not see the flag or tag for the extended license. It's a different kind
Oh.
of privilege. Even though there is a standard license for it, I'm thinking that there might be an issue with that. So we can move on, right?
Okay.
We can maybe do something that's along these lines here, and license a version here for Illustrator. Oh, download block. Okay, so I'm just gonna say that's what it was.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
it was blocked. So hopefully that works now.
Hopefully.
There we go.
Yay, okay, cool.
There we go. Well, let's see if we can go back to the one that you originally pointed out,
Yeah.
because I really do like that one as well. And we can do the same thing and download. And if there's something that pops up here, there we go.
Yay,
Okay,
it
it was
worked.
just that. Desktop, and just make sure I'm going to my live event. And what I love about, there we go, it's right here. So these are just basically little provisions about the Illustrator file itself saying that it's a different, but now you can see that these all are editable vector shapes. So I can take the whole thing and go back to, and that's what I love too, all the apps across Adobe are all interconnected, right?
Yeah.
So there's no kink in your workflow
Exactly.
that you have to worry about. So now, boom, I have that right here.
Nice.
And I kind of do like that white in the background to pop it from the background.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to marry those two together. So this shape is at 148. This is at an odd value. So I'm going to make sure that they're the same.
I have a question.
Sure.
So why did you open that in Illustrator and then bring it to XD? Is there a reason that you
Yeah,
did that?
sometimes vectors are, they have a lot of points and I want to simplify that. Illustrator has very powerful tools to simplify the vector shape.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just do that out of habit.
Okay.
You could do it anyway, which
Yeah,
is again,
I was just curious.
yeah,
Yeah.
no matter on your workflow, your habits, like what I find more very interesting about Adobe products in general is like you can really have your own unique workflow and things can kind of work to your style, right?
Yeah, exactly. Nice.
So now these are the same kind of sizes. There's a border here that I want to get rid of, so I'm going to drop that border out. And instead, I'm going to do a drop shadow around the whole object and increase its values a bit to give it a little more life here. So you can see there's a little drop shadow that's being centered as if light was shooting from the very top down. And now I want to bring these two together as well and pair them, group them. That's basically, I'm going to do this time without shortcuts. And basically you right click and then you have the context menu and it's group. And now this acts as one unit, right? So now it's a big bouncy ball.
Yeah.
So we have that going on for us. That's great. Didn't mean to do that. So now we have the formation of something that feels a little more concrete than as a splash screen, right? So we're still not done. We want to go back and fill out the rest of this with the sign up. So let's do that real quick. And in fact, the same drop down I want to do here as well. I'm going to have that drop down. And maybe not 24, but maybe 12. Give everything a little more life. And then go to the wires that we had before. And then this would be another required field. And let's go ahead and type, let's take this one here. Snap into the middle. Actually, there's not much change here, so I'm just going to copy and paste this down. Put this at 24 pixels difference. Oh, nope, that's more than what I want. Getting a little granular here with my numbers. Just want things a little tight. Okay, there we go. So now this is going to be kind of a password. So what I'm going to do here is just pretend you've typed something. Maybe it looks like that for a time. And I'm going to drop this little out here. And let's go ahead and change this to a name, actually. And actually to make this a little real, let's go ahead and move this little cursor thing that was over here, move it over here. And let's go ahead and let's pick a name here just so someone feels like they're included in the Datrix. What name should we pick here? Razmim? Is it Razm? Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Razm Baltic. All right. So we no longer need this icon here, but see what happens if I delete it there, because they're still linked, they're deleted in both, right? They are linked together. But in order to basically decouple that, I can just right click onto the object that I want to. And there's a couple of ways I do. I can actually decouple this as a symbol here. And actually I want to ungroup this in general. But I can also just hide this. So now I want to do my layers list, which is view, layers, or command Y. And now the assets has switched to a layer panel. And now I have everything itemized here on my panel, right? So I can basically command click and select the objects uniquely. And if I want to, I could just hide them, right? I could just hide them like that. And I think I'll just do that actually, just for the. I think I can just do it here. Yeah. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Okay. And then the little eye is always hiding from me sometimes. In fact, if I just do that, I could do that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so now I need a button, right? I need a button of some sort. I'm gonna get rid of this real quick, don't save. I'm gonna go back to my wires. And now I need a call to action. And we need to look at what's required here. So back to our sketch, we had a sign up provision and we had a remember me so that I don't have to keep doing this over and over again, right? So sign up, let's figure out if there's something here we can grab. If not, we can easily make it. So there's a lot to look at here. I'm going to make this a little bigger so everyone can see. All right. Where were the buttons? There we go. There we go. So, all right, these buttons are okay. These are just normal buttons, if you will. Yeah, they have just the button shape and the title. I'm going to take that. I actually think I'm going to take the outline stroke version that has the normal behind it instead of this one on top. Are these grouped? Yes, they are. And see how that feels here. And already I can see that there is a issue with its legibility. And this is something I wanted to talk to specifically. Legibility and accessibility are hand in hand, right? There's one component of accessibility. And here I can see that even if I were to change this color to something like, let's say, white, let me go in here and change that fill to white, and I change this outline border. Oops. Then it's still going to be relatively weak against the contrast I have. Oops. Sorry. In pushing these, I realize, again, got to make sure that we are editing the asset itself, so that I want to make sure that I can unlink the symbol from its original. I can do an override if I want to, but really what I want to do here right now is unlink the symbol. So now the symbol is mine to do whatever I want with. And again, 3 was the brightest, and I find that the shape itself is just not singing enough, right? Like there's not enough contrast. Oops, there's not enough contrast here. And if I do my fill, here you can see that making everything white is not really helping either, right? And then I just dropped off this as well. So let's say I drop this to this orange. Right, like that's, first of all, there's a couple incongruencies with the shape I'm looking at, right? It's a rectangle versus a rounded one. So there's a couple of things I can do here, right? I can actually go into the shape itself and specify, see how each one has a corner radius here? I can actually tell it to do something different. I can manually move these things if I wanted to. But what I think I'm gonna do myself is to show you how to create that asset from scratch real quick.
Nice. Also a reminder to everyone watching, there's about 42 minutes left to get your submissions for the daily design challenge in for us to review and get feedback. And you can find the information and all the rules for that on behance.net/live in the challenge tab. And today's challenge is to design an event page, landing page on a website.
That sounds great.
So yeah, definitely get those in so we can review them and give you feedback.
So here I just went into the appearance tab real quick to take this very basic shape and say, well, I can control it either way I want. I can tell each corner to be a unique value, or I can say everything I wanted at 32. As the button is 48, it's going to give me that nice round look that I have up here, and that's what I'm looking for essentially. I want to make sure the border is back at 3. Oops, not 3, not 30. 3. And that the color matches what I have up here already. So now I like this this typeface, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that and move that over, bring it up, or just basically go view, arrange, bring to front. Bring to front. Is it on the wrong layer? Let's see. There we go. So now I have these two objects together, which is exactly what I wanted. But now I want to make sure that it says, you know, sign up, obviously. So let's go ahead and change that real quick. Make sure that this is centered aligned, which it is. And now we have a big giant button. That's kind of what we're looking for, right? So now these are two together. But now what I'm realizing, oh, it's too big in size. So let's see what that looks like if I just bring it down. And because of the dynamic scaling that we have, all the type and everything stays snapped in focus.
So cool.
So that's what I'm looking for as well. My border stays the same. I'm going to change the size of this just to make sure it's not too illegible. And generally you want to stay at 9, which is the minimum size you would want. And for the sake of this, I'm going to take and copy the hex code and flip it, turn off the border, and put it here. And then take that sign-in value and flip it as well and make it white. And now I have a greater contrast of objects. And the shape is a little off, so I'm going to make sure that it's at a good size, 32 by 76. And then I'm going to pull just a simple box for Remember Me. And I'm going to round this out as well. That's too round. And keep that a little different. And I'm going to borrow this type. And this is going to say Remember Me. I don't want it to do left alignment. I want to make sure that it's left aligned so that it's always anchored. So now we have these two provisional assets. And I'm going to make sure that I just center that, group these together. This is grouped already, yes. Now I want to align these to each other. I want to make sure this is at the far corner. And what I love about, you know, all these is that you have rails for everything, right? The
guides.
The guides really help you out. So I don't have to, you know, spend too much time thinking about all that at all.
That can be time consuming and really difficult to get it like exactly right. So
Right. And again, this is very basic, right? Like we still have a lot of work in progress elements, but again, that's part of what design is to some degree as well. I want to take this background object, actually, now that I'm looking at it, and take it down in value a little bit. Take it down in appearance just a little bit, maybe 65. And we'll do that here, bring this up a little bit. Did we get any other name candidates by any chance?
I didn't see any. If anyone's just joining us, if you have any ideas for a name for a data visualization, business intelligence type of app, let us know and we can use that for the name.
Yes.
So give us any ideas that you guys have.
So the next thing I'm going to do here is we got first splash screen done. So now we can move a little faster since we got some of the assets that we want.
Yeah.
So now, literally just going to select this one artboard that I have, copy paste, right next to it, change its name. Now this is going to be the initial onboarding experience. And spelling right would help.
Adobe XD has spell check, so it'll fix that for you. Yeah.
There you go. Initial onboarding.
Davis says iRobot for a name, or and Roman is saying Lycos.
Lycos. That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I don't know why it does, but it sounds very familiar.
It doesn't sound familiar to me.
Lycos. I feel like that was a search engine back in the day. Lycos.
Really?
Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I'm gonna check that out. So now I'm gonna change the overall weight and value of what we got here. Texture. I'm gonna actually flip this texture around, which is basically just a handle. I can flip it around and see what happens when I play with very basic elements. I'm gonna scale this down as well.
Nice.
So now it's more of just an accent rather than a very pervasive, heavy-handed object.
Yeah.
And now what I'm going to do is do something very basic. So I'm going to take it way down here like this. I'm going to probably bump it up a little more than 65. I'm going to take it to 80. And then I'm going to repeat grid this and just move it over. And I'm going to zoom in for everyone to see. And then let's take this down and join.
Cool.
One more.
Stella's asking if you're working with points or pixels.
I'm working with, at the moment, I'm working with pixels.
Oh, and then Roman is saying that it was a search engine.
It
So
was a
you were
search.
right.
Yes, I
Yeah.
was right. Okay. Oops, I went back too far.
Zainab is suggesting kryptonite for the name.
Kryptonite. So here I did a simple tile of an object without having to think about it much, which is exactly what I wanted. And then I can have it right there, and I don't have to worry about it. I want this now docked over here, and then of course that's too big, so I'm going to take that down in size as well. And I'm going to take it down to, let's say, 32 and see how this feels. That feels maybe a little too small. Let's do 36. And take this down to 48. And of course, the drop shadows are way too heavy on all these objects at the moment, so I'm going to take that down as well.
So Stella's asking where you can change points to pixels on XD.
Points to pixels. If I remember correctly, that's... You might have to help me with that.
Yeah,
I forget. I'm so used to...
At the beginning, you might be able to.
Let's see.
Let's try.
New. So right now everything's pixels,
Yeah.
Which is generally how I work.
Yeah, I mean, same with me.
Yeah, so I don't remember off the top of my head where that would be. I could probably go to Learn Support and figure that out. And just
If anyone knows how to change points to pixels, please let us know in the chat.
Inspect comment documents, default unisex points and pixels. Yes, I don't have an answer for you, unfortunately.
Neither do I, I'm sorry. I know on like Photoshop or Illustrator you can change it once
Yes.
you open a new project, but I don't know about XD.
Exactly. So I'm going to keep this button because I know I'm going to need a call to action at some point. So I'm going to keep this around. So now I have a very basic screen to work with. And what I want to do is go back to my original premise of having this really simple question, right? What are you interested in doing? And having 3 cards that kind of gives you the lane to be in. Again, looking at the task of the user as a very important thing to consider is reducing the number of options is a massive benefit. Right, so it reduces cognitive overhead. The idea that you feel like you only have a few options rather than everything else reduces that paralysis that you have in terms of the selection. It's a paradox that it's really, you know, gets us to a point where we just have inaction. We don't know. We feel less confident. There's more anxiety that builds up from a psychology point of view. So the less we can kind of build into this, the better for our onboarding experience. Right?
There's been like studies done of someone has too many choices that it's a lot more difficult to pick one. Like I think they did it for food or something like that.
Yes.
Or there was something, if you Google, I'm sure you can find it, but I always think that's so interesting. And I agree from like a user standpoint, having fewer options is so much easier. Because then I think about it too much. I'm like,
yes.
I don't know.
And there could always be more. Again, the idea, and we'll play with this right now as a model. Again, this will be one example that I use that I will test later, right? And that testing by real users, even if it's a small sample size of users, will give me a good indication as where I should be leaning. What are my deficits? What are the positives? And those are the kind of learnings as you move through the UX process really help you make decisions. You're not making decisions in a vacuum, in isolation. It's not the designer, it's not a project manager, it's not an engineer solely making those decisions. It's a consensus that's ratified by your audience, your customers, your users. And you should, like I said before, your research should start very early and continue to the very, very, very end. So I already noticed that in this great wireframe, there's a lot of assets I want to pick apart already to make some of this work for me. So I can see down here that there are a number of cards that look like they might kind of work. I can take these cards that are for teams. I could go over here, and this is kind of what I'm looking for actually. I might want to say this continuum has the number of options I want, and of these you can only select from this. So actually what I'm going to do is take this entire group of objects, copy everything over, move this button out of the way, and move it in place. Sometimes you need to click the artboard and then
Oh,
paste.
yeah.
And sometimes the snapping 8 does not quite lend itself to where you want it to be. But you're starting to see already by basic elements I'm stringing together. The original sketch that I had, I already have pieces that I didn't have to do much with, right,
Yeah.
to make that happen.
That makes it nice and easy.
Here, and of course, the repeat grid is in effect for these objects as well. And what I'm finding is I want something that feels a little more where the main selection is the one that's centered, which is what this is doing currently. But I don't have any room for the question itself, and I want to make that very bold. So I'm going to put this off to the side, which I love until I can think about it. Put that over there. And then I'm going to essentially ask the question, what are you interested in doing? And I want to make this really in your face, kind of massive, right? And what's really great is that in XD, I can make this simple change where you saw me just type using my cursor and start typing. Well, what if it runs too long and I want to wrap it, right? It's a very common problem, not a very big deal. But if I just select the object again, and you see on the far right the area text selection, I can just click on that real quick, and now I can treat it as I would a paragraph. This is exactly what I wanted to do, right? So now I'm playing with a little bit of hierarchy and type, and that's what I wanted to do essentially. And this question could change depending on is it clear enough? You're going to be doing a lot of research to kind of define that.
Yeah. Does that and you can think about if that question makes sense to users, and by running usability tests, you can ask them if they understand what that means. So yeah, definitely you can always go back and change anything.
Absolutely. And again, you'll notice that there's no navigation right now, right? You're like, oh,
Yeah,
where's the navigation?
Yeah.
Well, the reason there's no navigation is, again, this is a special onboarding experience. If I were to throw everything out there, here's all the navigation tabs, or here's all the navigation elements, the user can easily go to one of those things up front.
Yeah.
And the one thing I do want to do is make sure that we're constraining them up front. Because if you present all the options and you constrain them at the same time, that most likely won't work. There's a number of reasons, because you have some users I was like, I don't need to onboard, I don't need to do this, I want to do whatever else. So they'll bypass that, but other ones who are just new to the system could easily find themselves lost, because again, so many different things to choose from. Where do I start? How is the system helping me choose correctly to get to a meaningful kind of result?
Exactly. And I think this is a good way to kind of guide them and use storytelling, like you mentioned, into having them be more comfortable with the software, because it's their first time.
Absolutely.
So.
And holding, by the way, if anyone is curious how I'm snapping, I'm just holding Shift, and it allows me to kind of make these 10 incremental jumps. So these are just minor little things as you get accustomed to working across all Adobe products and then XD. Just simple little things I don't even think about. So if there's anything that I'm doing that I haven't explained properly, or that if I'm moving too fast, please let me know.
Yeah, if you have any questions for Daniel, definitely ask.
So now I also want to change kind of the overall leading to this. I want it to be a little tighter than it is, and I'm not typing correctly. Yeah, that's a little better. So what are you interested in doing? This is going to move off to the side right now. I already know that I kind of want to scale these down, but not in that way. We're going to do one by one. And then I'm going to go to my layers, take that down real quick so I have more real estate. And I don't think we need all of this the way it is currently. It's pretty large. So I'm going to kind of make it a little... And see, what I love about this too, since it's already an object that's bounded, I don't have to do it anywhere else but that, right? So I'm doing it once and setting it, forgetting it. Let's drop this element. I don't think I need that. We'll figure out something better visually here down the road, but just not at the moment. And the object's pretty small. There we go.
Oh, my friend Ariella, hey, she's asking what our favorite plugins are for XD. Do you have any favorite plugins?
There's one that we'll get to a little later on in the week that I'm just starting to use, and it's basically the means to take in real data, like Excel data, and pipe it directly into Adobe so that your comps are reflecting that as well. That's one that I'm just starting to play with. I didn't even know that existed. Because again, the plugin community is just kind of a newer thing.
Yeah, it's new.
And it's something that I thought was really super, super interesting when it came out, because what we often find in design is you really don't know what you don't know
Yeah.
until you get the data, right?
Yeah.
Until you have some real information in there. So I found that like one of the game changers essentially
Yeah.
in what we're doing. And again, ironically, or coincidentally rather than ironically, this whole process that we're going through is about data, right?
Yeah.
And so that's going to play into this really, really well.
Nice. I haven't used that one yet, but some of the ones that I like, let me check because I don't remember their names. There's the keyboard shortcuts one, which is a new one. That one's so helpful for me because I'm really bad at remembering all the keyboard shortcuts. So that one is just like a library of all the keyboard shortcuts on XD. And then UI Faces is also a good one.
UI Faces, okay.
So if you want to import pictures of people into your app, you don't have to go to like Unsplash or Adobe Stock and just manually look for pictures. You can just select the information. So that one's a really good one. And then Photo Splash is basically Unsplash pictures, but in an easier way to import them into XD. But there's so many good plugins.
Yeah. So I'm just going to populate these a little bit here. Sales, research, with things that might be likely what they will be selecting, just as placeholders right now. And this is going to be some copy that I will have here that will be what it is in describing it in more detail for a user. And I don't know if I want that to be this color at the moment, so I'm going to make this gray. And let's see here. Let's bring these together since these are grouped objects. And bring that closer. Let's say 24 sounds good. Bring that in. Bring this in. These are just placeholders, as I said earlier. And actually, now maybe we don't need. So these are going to be, let's say, if we have this, we have 5 options. But let's say 3 is generally a good number here, so I'm going to bring it down to 3. Actually, I'm going to take this out, move this out, give it a little more breathing room space, and see how that feels. Take this entire object, bring it back, snap it, not rotate it.
I always do that on accident.
And of course, all these would be ratified by research, right? So like, what are you interested in doing would have to be, of course, mapped to real jobs that an individual might be interested in, that this particular app would be facilitating you, right?
Yeah.
And understanding better. So let's bring this down just a little bit. So now we have the basic kind of construct of what we're looking for. And what I want now is a real clear indication of what you're selecting. So I'm going to move this up, actually, into this space, and I'll find the images for that right now. Hey, wait a minute. That should have been moving when this was moving. Let's see here. What is going on?
I think because it's a repeat grid, maybe, or
It is a repeat grid. Oh, that's something in the way.
I think you might have to ungroup to make them be able to move, or I don't know. Maybe there's something.
There we go.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's funny that it didn't move the other one at the same
Yeah.
size, so that was an anomaly that I don't understand. All right, so this is one area where I'm going to select, and maybe the idea is that I can select more than one thing that I'm interested in doing, not just a
Ooh,
binary.
okay.
So now we're starting to kind of play with the idea of making sure that we're looking at different use cases and individual needs of users. And now I'm outside the repeat grid because we broke it, but that's fine. Sometimes you can go back and forth easily. I want to do something here, really simple, but I'm no longer, again, the idea of these rounded shapes and having things be a little more approachable. What I want to do is take this shape and use the appearance tool to only take down the top 2 corners and just move that to 6, maybe a little more, maybe 12. Yes, 12 is looking good, I think.
There's about 22 minutes left for the submission deadline for the challenge today. So if you're watching at home and you've been working on it, submit those. It'll be under the challenge tab on behance.net/live, and we will review them in about 22 minutes.
That
so,
sounds good.
Yeah,
Super excited.
me too.
So I just took this back to rubric because I realized I was going to do a lot of redundant effort work that I didn't really want to do. So I was like, no, let's not do that. These should, There we go. That should apply the style. Am I missing something? Oh. Well, we're doing it manually for the moment. But again, it's so quick to do that it's not really that distracting to me. And I want to do the same thing to these, but on the other side. So that's these two values.
I just figured out, because you know how there's 4 spaces for each of the corners?
Yes.
I never knew which one was for the corner, and then I think 2 weeks ago on the last stream, I figured out that if you hover over it, it'll tell you like right corner, or and then it also highlights on the square, so if you...
There you go.
Yeah,
Just
so it'll
like
let
that.
you know.
These
So,
little
because I was
tooltips.
always like, I don't know which one is which, but...
Tooltips
you
are
learn.
super important
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah.
They really help immeasurably.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I don't want to do that anymore. But in addition to selecting one of these, I want to make sure that you're going to be confident in selecting what you want. So what I'm looking to do is have a bigger sign up confirmation saying confirm. Make sure it's aligned. Make sure it's also centered in the space. This is not centered, so now it will be. Okay, so this is one state, but I realized that there's going to be another state, so I'm going to copy paste this real quick too. And I want one that has a selected state, right? I haven't done that yet. So this is going to have an inactive version of it. So the inactive version is going to be a clear, I can't do anything with this, essentially, state. So maybe it's going to be something like this, where the confirm itself is also grayed out. So you can't do anything yet. And then I'll make sure that this blue fill in the button, which I'm selecting on object, is also the same as my blue, so that you don't see it punch through. And select anywhere here, it's fine. And this could be confirm, this could be next, it could be a lot of different things, right? And you can always check that. Right now, I'm just gonna be like, you know, yeah, next, we'll do next. Or select it, but we'll come back to that.
Oh, Noel is saying that the corner order comes from CSS. Think of it as going clockwise from top to right to bottom and left. It's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, small little details like that really matter in terms of consistency between design handoff and engineering handoff, which is another thing that's really great in terms of being able to share this, you know, really quickly, but also specs all within one program. So that's really fantastic. So now I want to break this shape out. So if I do that, I want to just basically no longer use the ungroup. I'm going to ungroup the grid because I want to make one particular one stand out. So I'm going to make this one here the one I want to stand out. So I'm just going to bring this up, and I'm going to make sure it's constrained, and I'm going to say that it's going to be 256, maybe 264, 268. There we go.
How do you decide the numbers?
Proportional relationships. So I also do like a lot of even, you know, like the common grid size is 4 across many different platforms because it's easily divisible. If you do something like 5 or odd numbers, you know, like that's not highly performant. It can cause a whole bunch of other problems in terms of like how you can align things. And so for me, what I tend to like look at is multiples of 4. And I just kind of do the math in my head, and it's not always going to be perfect, you know, initially or all at the same time. But that's kind of like what I go with.
That's cool. I think you can do math in
In
XD.
yes, you can.
So that's also really cool.
You can actually do not just math, but you can actually do not just in XD, sorry, but you can do it in like a lot of the apps that Adobe has. tighter, maybe making this feel like.
If anyone is just joining us, we are still thinking of an app name
Yes.
for this business intelligence data visualization app. Date app. Dad app.
Data app. All right.
If anyone has any ideas, please share them in the chat.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll definitely take a look. And then for this one, I'm going to change the type and nature of this card. Actually, what I'm going to do is extend this particular element here to match, and then round that out by 12 as well. Because I figure what I really want to do is, in a lot of ways, make a sizable difference in contrast between these elements that are not selected and the other ones. So I'm going to do a checkbox. So basically, you're going to go from logging in to Datrix, being able to sign up, and then you're going to be able to basically ask, what are you interested in doing, so that the user has the means to kind of select not only the type of role they're in, and maybe we should actually be more explicit with that, but also kind of what data are you interested in too, and then that will go into the next screen, which will be the actual data visualization where you can start searching on it.
Nice. So we have DAP, Rick's roller with no E, Data X. I'm not sure if this is an app name, Watson.
Watson, yes, that's IBM.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yes.
I'm not familiar with it, so.
And a great one. And a great one at that.
Watson Jr.
Watson Jr., okay.
I'm going to keep track of these names.
Oops. Responsibility. It just gave me how to spell it. There we go. So now we have a widow. I don't know if I like that. We'll play with this as we can. Maybe this can come down in size a little bit to like 48.
We have Robo Data and Datum as well for other possibilities.
And now I'm just going to get some generic copy. And I think there's a Lorem ipsum generator, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
right?
there's a plugin for that.
So let's go ahead and do that real quick, because I don't think
Yeah.
I have that turned on. And I remember if
so you can just go
it's-
to plugins
Where you are. There you are.
and then discover plugins, and then I think it's just called Lorem.
Lorem
Ipsum.
ipsum,
Yeah,
yeah.
there it is.
Used to always go to a website for this. But now it's right there.
Now it's right here.
Excellent. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to kind of have a block of text at 9. Oops, forgot to fill in content. Ah. There we go.
So we have some new names: Star App, Datron, Datalek, D-Stuff, Data C, Daniel BI App.
Daniel BI. That's if I want my ego to be elevated a little bit, right?
Yeah.
No harm, no harm. So now I'm just using that tool to fill in text for me. Make sure. Okay. Well, he did give me some text, so that's fine with me. And oh, I see the leading is way huge. There we go. That's what I was missing. Make sure to always check your lighting.
Yes.
That's fine.
So there's about 12 minutes left to get your submissions in. Today's challenge is to design an event landing page using Adobe XD, and we will review them in about 12 minutes.
Exciting.
And there is a prize. It's a 1-year Creative Cloud subscription.
Oh, can I get that?
Yeah, I know, that's such an awesome prize. So definitely submit those, and we'll be choosing someone later, and then not on stream.
Not on stream.
We'll just be reviewing them and giving you feedback. But then the winner will be chosen, and it'll be revealed tomorrow morning during Howard's first stream. So it's an awesome prize and a great way to practice. I always like I like to do the XD daily challenges. I think they're really fun. And yeah, so this is a kind of a smaller version of that. Yeah.
Yes. So now I'm just fine-tuning this card a little bit to what I'm looking for as a selected item. And let's find some visuals for this that would represent, so marketing research, sales research. Let's do another one where it's, let's do something like sales research, promotions. Oops, and I did not check. See what I did not do there.
Oh.
Oh, that's what I didn't do last time. I forgot to left align.
Oh, I
Left
see.
justify, yeah. In my mind, I'm thinking that these could kind of be pre-populated by someone that's in your organization, pre-populated, that knows you from, like, knows a little bit about you, but now this is your ability to kind of fine-tune and tailor things specifically. So now I want to go back to stock real quick.
So do you think when the user signs in, this system will automatically kind of know maybe the top 3 things that they might be most likely to pick?
Yes.
Okay. That's cool.
And so now I want to go to Adobe Stock. And I want to start searching for, let's see, sales, sales illustrations, but I want a flat style to kind of go along with the aesthetic. All right, lots to choose from. So many to choose from. And let's see here. Business, finance, sales. And again, we don't have to get too particular, but we just want to be able to communicate sales. So I want something that's really going to stand out to me as representative of sales and marketing, which are kind of interrelated, but maybe, that's a really good, interesting illustration right there.
They have really nice illustrations.
They really do. Let's see what we can do here. And if this is a vector, I'm just going to actually see. Again, I don't have to really think about it much. Which is fantastic. I can kind of see if this is what I'm going to need or want really quickly.
B, creators asking if you use any type of measurement system while designing or any grid lines.
Yes, definitely. There are different grid mechanics you can actually look into that will help you keep organized. The reason I didn't really start there is that this is a pretty simple initial screen. But as you get to have heavier and heavier elements, more and more interlocking patterns, input fields, buttons, a bunch of different things going on, interface requirements are going to mandate that you have some kind of grid. But again, grid in application design and web design, there's a little bit of difference there, right? So like grids are going to be responsive and flexible. You're going to want a base grid to make sure you have alignment, but that's going to radically change depending on orientation, depending on, like the scale of my screen and a bunch of other elements like that. So I think I downloaded it, if I was correct. I didn't take a look. So assets, desktop. I think this is right here. So I'm just doing a spacebar preview. Yep, that's what it was. So what does this look like? So there's a backroom fill. So I don't really need a lot of these elements. I just really want to isolate the gentleman with the, what do you call this? Easel.
Yeah, easel.
Easel. Exactly. Something.
That word was escaping.
It escaped me, yes,
Yeah.
for sure. And I'm just kind of cleaning it up, making sure I'm only bringing over the basic elements that I need. The shadows are kind of cool. I'm going to move this over a little bit,
Ooh.
just so they're a little tighter. So now I'm going to take this and see how it plays. Yeah, and that's kind of working. That's what I was looking for.
Oh, yeah.
That's not the size that I wanted though, but let's go ahead and round this down. There we go. Now we can lock this object so that I don't skew any of the portions. And then we need to bring emphasis to this entire card, right? So how do I know that this has been selected? Other than from here, we have a couple of things. We have one signal or one feedback where it's increased in size, but we need something stronger than that. And now that I have this object, I can actually bring it down here and see if that still works. This will be smaller, of course. Oh, something. Something like that. Wait a minute, something happened to that card. Oh, I see what happened. I did not select the object.
Oh.
There we go. I selected the entire card and object, which is not what I was trying to do.
So there's about 5 minutes left for the submission deadline. And if you're still working on it, don't worry, you can still submit it during the next stream with Howard and Michael, and then they can review that. So
Sounds
you're
good.
still finishing up, not a problem. They can review it during their stream. But if you are almost done, you can submit
Yes.
that, and we can review them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I went real quick there, but I didn't know if you saw viewers that one of the things I tend to like about the stock tool and how I integrate it is the image that I selected, right, with this salesperson and the chart. I like that, right?
Yeah.
I thought that worked pretty well. And I want things that are similar to that. So if you look at that, there's actually more from this series down below.
Nice.
And their carousel in the very front to just see all. So now I just want to see
That's
everything
really
that's in that
cool.
area. To get things that are similar, like maybe this person here is going to be the second candidate,
Yeah.
so now I can actually just really quickly pull those in, right?
Yeah.
And this is another one, so I'm gonna actually have another one that's really close to it, but maybe I'm just gonna focus on her holding like maybe this docket.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna download that.
That's cool that you can do view more, and it makes the app seem a lot more uniform, and
Yes.
like the illustrations were kind of created for the app, so
Ex-
it adds another like level.
Exactly.
to
Oh,
it.
but I see that this is not a vector shape, so I just realized that. I've got to make sure that the filter's turned on to show vectors. There we go. So he's vector. And hopefully the woman I just saw, there she is. She's also
Yay.
vector. Sweet. Very
Nice.
excited. Gotta make sure we have fair representation
Yeah,
here too, right?
exactly.
Oh, it's the same asset. Okay, so unfortunately, sometimes this happens where it IDs something as vector because it's the result looks like it's vector, but
Oh.
the asset is not vector.
Interesting.
Even though it says AI and EPS, which is encapsulated PostScript file, and AI is obviously the native Adobe Illustrator file. But let's see if this one works here. We'll come back to that. I just need a little variability. Or maybe it's because I'm downloading the preview and that's probably what it
Maybe.
is. That's probably what it is. Yeah, you know what? I take that back. It's partly because I didn't license this. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Good to, I sometimes jump the gun. And now it's not a preview.
No.
Okay, so there we go. So disregard what I said earlier. Yes, there we go. So again, I just want to kind of just get rid of all the objects I don't need. And actually, I'm just gonna, to make it a little different. Oh, we could, let's say this. We'll just do this as well. just kind of eyeballing this at the moment. We can fine tune as we go down. That looks pretty close. And here, and I'm just gonna pull one more. Get rid of these. Don't save. Go back. And there was one up here, I believe, that was interesting. This one here. And this is, of course, stressing the importance of illustration and how they can help you in your UX and UI stories, right? If you don't have the appropriate illustration, it's not going to convey kind of the message and what you're trying to communicate across, right?
And I think illustrations make it more inviting because that's something you mentioned you wanted to include in this app, and it just kind of seems more friendly and that you want to use the product.
Yeah, I think approachability goes a long way, right? Like you want to be able to have your colors, your illustration style, your overall aesthetic match kind of your UX model itself and how those all kind of align together.
Yeah, exactly.
So here we go. I'm going to get rid of this.
It's so cool that you can kind of pick and choose what elements you want to include from that whole thing.
Exactly. And like this shadow is a little too big compared to the other ones, but because it's vector, I can just scale that down and
that's so cool.
make it just exactly size and make sure the opacity is what I want. It's too strong, so I can just take it down to 20 and pull him in a little bit. And now it looks like the other ones pretty much, right? Without me doing, what, that was like 2-3 seconds maybe? And I think that's really, you know, the power of having all these connected services together in the Adobe. we'll do that.
So Jason and anyone else that's been listening or just joining us, we are, or Daniel rather, is designing a data intelligence, business intelligence app, and we're on the kind of onboarding
experience.
Yeah.
So the idea, just to recap, is to provide a way for people who are not familiar with big data. There's just so much you have to really be aware of, and you know, generally these is a space for like data scientists and business analysts, and you know, to sometimes search within your own company's or business's data to actually get some kind of insight. Like, I just want to know, you know, how sales are doing in California, within California, a city in particular, right? You just want to be able to say that, like, what is my store doing well, right? And so this whole idea is to kind of bring kind of the familiarity of Google and search, but also the familiarity with like these kind of really simple onboarding mechanisms where you're not presenting a whole lot of options, right? You're presenting just the key options up front to better understand and profile who your user is, to then get them on a path early on to just exactly what they need from an information perspective.
So it's actually time to review the submissions. The deadline is here. So thank you to everyone who participated and sent us what you designed. I'm really excited to get into it. Let me just move this over so we can switch over to my screen and take a look at Datrix.
All right.
Nice. So this one is from Renato. Thank you, Renato.
Thank you,
and
Renato.
he kind of incorporated what you were working on.
I see that.
So it's really cool. So this is, so the challenge was to design an event landing page.
Okay.
So looks like it's a launch event.
Yep, on
for
November
Datrix.
5th.
Yeah.
You got clear messaging about like, okay, like the call to action is not just sign up, right? Or okay. It's like, wow, let's do it. I like that. In fact, I'm going to take some of that and bring that into here as well. So we have a little bit of the human, like just the human kind of language.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's really important and it makes a big difference when you're designing.
Absolutely.
Sorry, my brightness. Okay, so let's click on that.
And then it goes to a very simple thank you page.
Nice. So I think those are those the only, I think that might just be those screens. So maybe this is like an overlay type of thing.
I can see that.
Yeah. But it's cool. I like, this is really clear, the call to action. And again, I like the language that you use.
Yes, absolutely. Something that I'll be picking up here, right? Like it's motivational. It feels like it's spoken by a human.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's all
like robotic
and sterile, right?
Yeah,
you want something that's going to humanize the experience as much as possible as you move forward.
I agree. And I think this picture is kind of cool with the numbers and then the background.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
awesome job.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And then this next one is from Niles. I think that I'm pronouncing it right. I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right.
I'm not great at pronouncing names either.
But this looks really cool. And it's about from a brewery in Denmark, which is awesome.
Nice. love the vineyard kind of thing, or grapes. I don't know what it is. It's pretty cool.
Hops.
Hops.
I think.
There
yeah.
you go. Very hops.
Yeah. Nice. This is really cool.
Mhm.
And like the clear navigation up front, and then
You get an asymmetry to it
Yeah.
that gives it balance.
yeah, I really like that. And
Clear navigation.
yeah, and then just the header right here. Join our next tasting event.
Okay.
Something that I would recommend is maybe making this a little clearer to make it seem that you can click on it. Just by looking at it, I would initially think that it's part of the heading. I wouldn't know that you could, so when I like mouse over, it's like something to click on, maybe a call to action.
Yes.
So maybe make that a little more prominent.
In fact,
Yeah.
could you go back to the page that you
Yeah.
were just at?
Yes.
In fact, you're doing it already, right? You're doing with the drop downs a little bit more encapsulation to make it feel like a touchable event. There's been a lot of research about how buttons should be displayed
Okay.
visually now, and it really is about how coherent you are in your design system and your visual aesthetics to make sure, like, oh, if you decide this is a button and it's somewhere different down the road, and now you've made it an outline around it.
Yeah.
Now you're introducing a little bit more complexity, or basically you're not giving the cues consistently to your users that would help them understand and how to use your app
Yeah.
or your experience over time consistently.
Yeah. So this is really cool. I like how you can choose maybe how many people are going to the event, maybe what the event is if there's different variations, and then you have a clear date and time, your name, and book tasting. And I
Very.
think, yeah, this is really cool. I like how you laid everything out and also included the...
You brought the same
logo.
color treatment. Now
Yeah.
it's completely washed over the background. There's a
Yeah.
little bit of textural component because of the
Yeah, I like
photography
that.
behind it. The input fields are all very standard and minimalistic. They're just
Yeah.
lines. Very similar to a material design, for instance, in terms of what they do.
Yeah.
But it has that personality because the typeface, right?
Yeah,
That typeface.
I like the typeface. That you used.
I would maybe suggest, and we're going to be doing it here as well, like having two typefaces that are complementary to each other rather than having one universal typeface for everything.
Everything,
Helps
yeah.
bring up not just hierarchical relationships to be
Yeah.
more clear, but gives the an added level of depth
Yeah,
for the personality
I
of your
agree.
particular
Yeah.
experience or app.
Exactly. Let's see if there was any other screens. So I believe it was just these two.
So I see the hotspot there.
Yeah.
Is there any
Oh,
hotspot?
cool. You could see kind of the like.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Animation?
I missed that the first
Yeah.
time around. Okay. So they're just like pull
yeah.
in, pull
so
out.
that's cool.
Oh,
Oh!
okay.
Whoa! That's really cool.
Nice.
Nice.
Okay. So you
So you
select
click on
that. I guess it's one example, right?
Yeah. but
Okay.
That's really cool. And
Oh.
then you change the color to match the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Nice. I like how there's been a new update where you can view the animations on your web browser, and you couldn't do that before. So this, like, I don't know, makes it really exciting.
No, it makes it
Yeah.
feel like it's legit, right? It makes it feel
Yeah.
really real. And again, it expresses the concept quite well.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Awesome. Awesome job, Niles.
Yes.
And then let's go to the next one. This is from Heather Vanderdice. Thank you
All right,
for
Heather.
submitting. Click to launch.
Anticipation.
Yeah. Dun dun dun. Cool.
All right. Still loading. Still loading.
It's still loading, but we're almost there.
Here we are. How do you say that?
So I'm not sure what language this is. Please let us know, Heather, if you're still in the chat.
Yes, please.
I'm really curious. Delutan. So I feel like this is hours, or days, hours, minutes, seconds. That's my guess
Yes.
from this. Let me know if that's correct. But program. Oh wait, this is
Oh, yeah. Well, you don't have to guess. now.
cool. Nice. Afternoon.
So it's doing some. Okay, so it's doing a little bit of translation for you.
Nice. Program.
So I guess it's showing how you can move and have the buttons
Yeah.
dynamically stretch to
Yeah.
each of to have more prominence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. I like how you curved the edge of the rectangle, like opposite. It looks really cool.
Yeah, those are kind of contemporary elements that you don't
Yeah,
see a lot, right? Like I think
exactly.
we've all gotten really familiar with this rounded
Yeah.
or box, right? And it's
Yeah.
always nice to kind of break that up and see where it goes, right?
Yeah.
Because, there's a lot to say about uniformity and making our patterns all consistent so everyone sees what we say. But, oh, hey, a counter.
Oh, cool.
All right.
Nice. Let me see if that will. Nice. So it kind of transitions and does that cool
okay.
time counter thing. Nice. Awesome. Yeah, this looks really good. And I like this logo too,
Mm-hmm.
even though I'm not sure. Maybe it's like a bike
riding?
riding event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I take away from it. That's strong, right?
Yeah.
You take away that it's some kind of family bike riding event
Yeah.
in the afternoon, and maybe it's, like keeping track.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, Heather says it's Hungarian.
Hungarian.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome job. Thank you for submitting.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's take a look at our next one. This one's from Pray Onita. Thank you for
Thank you, Pray.
submitting. Okay.
Oh, all right. Something
Let's
wireless,
see,
like
yeah.
a venue or something. I saw a little bit of it.
Yeah. Ooh, artists, stage people.
All right, I'm gonna go.
Yeah. This looks awesome.
I haven't been to a concert forever.
I love concerts. They're like my favorite thing.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so you have the date, the location, and then you can
Continue
push
this.
this.
Ah, okay.
Ooh,
So now there's a lineup.
nice, yeah.
I think something got cut a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, you can
there we
scroll.
go.
Okay,
You can
okay.
scroll down. Nice. I like how you showed the lineup too, kind of similar to festival lineups, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like the headliner and then it like kind of goes smaller. Nice. Post Malone.
Yeah, Ace of
Nice.
Rocky. All right, some good selections.
Yeah, nice.
Oh,
Ooh,
all right.
Okay, I can change the date.
Oh,
Nice.
future. All right.
Travis Scott. Nice.
So maybe
Cool.
there's no.
Maybe-
Oh,
Oh,
so that's adding more. No, maybe that's
think.
the next. More pictures. Maybe.
yeah.
More
Maybe
pictures.
it's like, yeah, scrolling. Sorry, it's not full screen.
Oh, and then ticket call
Tickets.
out. Okay.
Ooh,
And you know your prices.
nice.
And I guess you can.
Do
There's
weekend.
little. Oh, okay. All right.
Ooh, this is a cool little pop-up.
So it's
General
coming out
ticket.
from this.
Yeah. Friday, Saturday, Sunday access. Bye.
All right.
Cool. Wow, you added a
A
lot,
lot of content.
detail.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
content here.
This is awesome. And you added partners and a footer
All
and
right.
social media. That's so cool.
What's interesting about this concept is, there's all elements, a lot of content, but it's
Yeah.
broken up, it's staged. I
Yeah.
think that's really interesting, this concept.
Me too.
Plus, it seems to also echo, and I think maybe it's intentional, that it feels like a literal pamphlet that you get, like a
Yeah.
poster. It has that same kind of relationship to print in
Yeah.
a digital context, right?
Exactly.
So that's always interesting to kind of experiment with and explore.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Well, thank you so much. Oh,
yeah.
there's something
Let's
else.
see.
That
Ooh, and it
goes
goes
back
back
to
to the homepage. Yeah. Thank you for submitting. This
Yes,
is
thank you.
awesome. Okay, and then the last one for today, for during our stream, is from Victor BS. So, ooh,
All right.
nice.
Has a lot of, again, it's the photography, the colors already has a emotional resonance, right?
Yeah.
Like there's already something. I like the way that's kind of the layout's a little different than you expect in terms of, like, again, you have a complementary relationship between your typefaces.
Yeah.
Like
it looks
you have
really nice.
the dot day is like a different way of presenting that too. So there's a little
Yeah.
graphic design element to it.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I like this typeface in all caps, and then this like kind of overlaid over the background box. So you have 125 days until the event, and then the address. This kind of reminds me of like an Evite or something that you would get.
Yeah,
in,
yeah,
like, your
that's
email.
what it comes out to.
Yeah. Ooh,
All right.
this is really nice. Publish your work on Behance. Nice.
The
This is a good
hashtag.
hashtag. 3 days of design.
Yeah, yeah.
This is awesome. It's like a little postcard type of thing to.
And then something
relate
we're
to.
going to be getting into right now is like elevations, right? Like
Yeah.
material design really brought that out. So does Microsoft's Fluent Design, where you're really working with what's in your Z space, right? What's at the very bottom, what's at the very top, and that helps also establish hierarchy.
Yeah.
And I already see a lot of that
this is-
here.
I really like
Right.
that.
It also plays
awesome.
with the imagery in the background too.
Yeah.
Like these rocks or shapes, geometric shapes.
Yeah, I think they're geometric shapes. Nice. Day 1 graphic design.
Yeah, bringing in that same kind of lowercase title for the day 1.
Yeah.
So that
Keeping
shows.
it consistent and yeah,
Yes.
it's really good.
Yes.
Really important. And yeah, you laid out everything. I like how you did the vertical type on here, hosted by Elena, I think that says.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a funny
Color
picture.
choices are very consistent.
Yeah,
too.
I like the colors that you used as well. Hey, look,
Hey.
it's you. Nice.
Nice call out.
Awesome. Yay. And then day 3 illustration. Cool. This is awesome.
All right.
I really like it. I don't know if I have anything.
No, I
There's
think we've hit
nothing-
on.
Yeah.
Was this an element that's static?
Oh, yeah.
I think it was static, right? It's an image, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I wonder, maybe this is like a.
I thought it was
favorites?
following it for some
Yeah.
reason. Maybe it was my imagination.
Yeah, this is really good. Awesome job. Thank you, Victor.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for everyone else that submitted. If you're still working on your challenge for today, you can submit it during the next stream with Howard and Michael, and they will review it. So yeah, definitely keep working on those. And then, yeah, we love seeing what you guys come up with.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Everyone did an amazing job. And then a winner will be chosen at the end of the day, and someone will win a 1-year subscription to Adobe Creative Cloud, which is an amazing price.
I'm envious.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, so you'll find out the winner tomorrow morning. So
All
stay
right.
tuned for that. And maybe we can jump back to
Sure.
Daniel's screen if you want to kind of
Yes.
finish up.
Get back
for
to
today.
what we
Yeah.
were accomplishing here. And so now I'm just going to really rapidly kind of populate all the content that I need to into these other cards. And now I'm no longer thinking that I want this gray separation. I think just like one value for everything is working out better for me. And again, that's what's, all these digital design tools are designed to help you rapidly iterate, right? Making hard decisions, you don't want to just fall in love with something just because,
Yeah.
hey, it kind of worked out the first time.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of this is going to be predicated on inputs that you're fielding from your customers, other partner stakeholders that you're working with. What are priorities? You're going to be working with business people to say, oh yeah, well, look, this is the type of content that's going to be really targeted to this type of user. So you're going to be working in collaboration with people, right?
Yeah.
Design is really about that collaborative knit, and you got to be that glue, that bridge that brings everything together in the end. So now I'm going to finish this real quick, and then I'm just going to change all these things that I just mentioned. Or I'm just going to bring this down to what I said I was going to do. And yeah, so what we're going to do too is also introduce, as I mentioned earlier, kind of the elevation that we didn't quite have here, and a little more finesse as we start to get it, further along. In the end, this will all map to a data visualization area where we're going to ask a question, and then we're going to, in the prototype, get an answer back.
Ooh.
And then we're going to find a way how this all in day 2 looks in mobile, and maybe create a feed once we go through the onboarding
Yeah.
process. Because once you built this here, you have responsive design layouts that we can basically, make that happen
Exactly.
and port it over. So that work doesn't have to be redone. So we're going to be as kind of scrappy, but also as pragmatic as we can as we go down this
Yeah.
design process.
I'm excited to see how this will look on mobile.
Yes. And I'm designing that with in mind. That's another thing I didn't mention discreetly before. But as you go along the process, in my mind, I kept it this simple, knowing that this model of choosing 1, 2, or 3 works in a variety of platforms, right? Like even outside of the context of like data, and you're doing this on your desktop
Yeah.
or your mobile phone, like this interface is simple enough for TV almost, right? Like you can look at those intersections,
Yeah.
if you will. Of course, this use case doesn't really afford itself to that,
Yeah.
of course. But I'm just saying, as you start to think about how you apply your design layout, the way in which you're using different patterns, be cognizant of how it can spill over and be used in
Yeah.
different platforms and different mediums, like phone, mobile
Exactly.
phone. And see, I should have kept my smart gig on, but I did not, and now it does, but it unbounded the
Yeah.
object underneath it. So that's a good thing to note, right? So you can, choose from these things that are already provided, and oops, not a border. What I want to do here is go in and add a shadow, and I want to make that 8. Yes. Shadow. And I'll be adding a lot more, as we go along the process, to this as we move on, which is really great because you can always come back, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if this really looks better this way. Does that look better? Let's see. Do people like the straight line?
Yeah, let us know in the chat. Do you like it across or kind of paragraphy? I don't know how you would word that. Yeah.
Yes. Let's see what the audience says.
Yes.
And right now I'm gonna just bring this up a little bit. Get it a little tighter. And as I said, I wanted to really bump this up. And now that I have these elements here, I can literally just copy and paste. In fact, I'm just going to ungroup everything here.
Nice. That was really fast and easy.
And so now what I'm going to do is make this super emphasized. So I'm going to do this at, let's do 42. It's the distance. Maybe too much. Maybe 32. Yeah. Too much. 24. Trying to fill it out. And a blur of maybe 12. 24. There we go. And I just realized that there's a straggling element here.
Oh, I couldn't even see that.
And again, thanks to our audience, what I really want to do is bring in that human kind of component to these buttons, right? Like, all right, so I don't want to say next. Right?
Yeah.
So, make your selection.
Rasim is saying centered text, and Davis says left.
I love it.
And Ben Brahim likes the current one. It's a lot of different opinions on this.
It's okay. Opinions are good. We start to validate those opinions by like, what are their trade-offs, right? What are their pros and cons?
Yeah.
As we start to objectively understand like how we are making these choices, we want to make sure that they're thought as a whole, right? And so what I'm starting to see here already is that there is a strong center through line that we're actually answering. So maybe the idea is that we do centered and we do centered like this and do that.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So now we start to actually understand what are our strengths in the overall layout. This is still isolated here. We're going to bring in some icons as I mentioned previously. And now we have your make your selection button. And again, you could even have this be more prescriptive, right? Make a selection, which would be like, oh, I can only make one versus I can choose multiple. We haven't really decided on one or the other. Make a selection, you couldn't be more clear, right? Like you're making only one selection out of all of these.
Yeah. Ben Brahim is asking if you use material design spaces like 8, 16, 24.
I do. You'll see me 16 is my padding around all of these objects. So yes, I do snap to material design spaces. Sometimes depending on if you're at a place where they have their own design system, they'll have their own, matrix of numbers, right? Again, from my experience, I believe that 4, as long as it's divisible by 4, it'd be great. So someone's saying centered, because if you have text all over the screen, and someone says good. Not good. Oh, someone else is saying not good. Oh,
the same person.
Same person saying not. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Same person saying not good. Yes. So the person I think is saying centered is their
is the good
vote.
Option.
Yes. yes. So I want to make sure that I heard that correctly too. And I just realized I copied the wrong thing over. And I want to just make sure that these are, whole number values here. And I said make a selection. Said. Now all we did here was do that, boom, right? So now I want to increase the visibility that you checked this. I'm going to do a couple things for that real quick. I'm going to actually add a border, which you can't see at the moment, but I'm going to key it to a color that we already have. So I'm using 2 colors right now principally in the design system. I'm kind of doing it for a number of reasons. One, their illustrations are kind of also in this warm tone space that I feel like there is an approachability to that. Now, obviously, not all of them are like that because again, we just did stock and we did it really, really quick. But again, you're telling this, you're already telling the story really quickly here. What I'm going to do here, oops, not here, but here, is to increase that border size to the same as our actual button, and
Nice.
Actually, let's see, multiple of 2, so 2 times that will be 6. Let's see if that's too large. And then make sure that I have a number of options, obviously. I can have this be inside or outside, so I can tell it to go outside of it. I could tell it to go within the constraint of it. Right now, or I can do centered, so just like Illustrator.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to do the inner stroke so I can keep the margins that I want and this distance the same. Because you want encapsulated objects, so like all your rollover states, your on states for accessibility should be encapsulated in the object rather than pushing out. And so now I think I need a check, a check affordance for this. So I'm going to bring that in from like the wires. I can make my own. I guess you know what? I'm just going to make my own. Why not? It's going to bring the circle into the tool. I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to actually get rid of the border, make this fill the same. And I'm just doing really simple fill. Like once I have established the system, I'm going to start making more decisions on like what I want as a symbol, what I want to be. Like if I had to change my mind and change all these colors, I want to be able to do that. So I'm going to add it into the asset library, but I want to have the elements that I, are confident in.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
So let's go ahead and do 32. Oops, it wasn't binded. I always make that mistake. The one thing I will say about Adobe XD that I wish would happen is that if we could bring back the wave to select in here and use your mouse and hold, and then change that number, like you have that functionality in
that would be
Photoshop or
cool.
Illustrator, one of them. It's something that, because these are pretty small and I like to like just not think about it and snap to it.
Yeah, exactly. So we're actually about out of time for our stream. So maybe if you want to quickly go over kind of what you're going to be working on tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So people will know what to expect, and definitely come back tomorrow and join us for what's next.
Absolutely. We're going to conclude with filling out the rest of this and hooking up this entire flow, where this will eventually into a search screen where you're going to get data.
Yeah.
So we're going to complete that really quickly tomorrow.
Nice.
That's going to be really just finishing what we're doing here, and maybe adding a few more details. But then we're going to port all of this to a mobile view using Adobe's responsive configuration tool. And you're going to see how that's going to work, because instead of choosing, you can swipe left and right for these big cards. That's intentional design, right? That wasn't just done randomly. The idea was to kind of bring those things harmoniously together, so they'll have patterns that work on desktop and also work on mobile. Then, as we move forward in the rest of the week, we're then going to actually show and have a little fun with data visualization and voice UI.
Nice.
So then we're going to do that both in desktop and in mobile. Yes.
Cool, awesome. Well, thanks for everyone in the chat for joining us and participating, giving us awesome app idea names. Maybe we can choose one tomorrow. I have them all down, so by tomorrow
we'll spend some
choose
time.
one. Exactly. So stay tuned for Howard and Michael, and well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
It was really great.